Thank you. Just see. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to LIBOR's Wednesday webinar. We're allowing everyone to kind of get settled in. We have two very special guests with us today, and we'll be introducing them shortly. So welcome everyone again to this very special Wednesday webinar for our LIBOR members on Realtor Safety during Realtor Safety Month. We'll let you get settled in, and my name is Marianne Monteleone. Many of you may know me. I'm Director of Education, and we look forward to today's presentation. So welcome, you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hello.
I have a formal introduction. I know the both of you. I don't want to miss anything, so I will go through the introduction real quickly, and then I'll turn it over to Carl, who will be our first speaker. Okay, so officially welcome everyone on this Wednesday in the fall. It is September, Realtor Safety Month, and we have two very special guests with us today. Our first speaker today is Carl Carter, Jr. And excuse me if I read this, I do know him. He's such an awesome guy, but I wanted to make sure I get this right. Carl Carter Jr. is a realtor and is the founder of the Beverly Carter Foundation, which is a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to improving agent safety. His mom, Realtor Beverly Carter, lost her life at the hands of a couple posing as clients in 2014. Since his mom's passing, Carl has dedicated as much time as possible to spreading the message of safety. He was recently appointed as a delegate to the National Safety Council, where he advocates for safety of lone workers. His and his mom's name have become synonymous with realtor safety, as he has dedicated so much of his energy in keeping realtors safe in this profession. He is not a stranger to LIBOR. He has spoken in person for us, and I reached out to him. He put us in his schedule on this very special day during Realtor Safety Month, and we're so happy to have him with us. I want you to know that we have a half hour of Carl and his message, and then following we have Ray Beckett, who you see on the screen, who is with us, a Real Safe Agent, a real estate industry safety app that collaborates and cooperates to help prevent crimes against realtors from ever happening. Real Safe Agent is a free member benefit for LIBOR members, and Ray will show you how to download the app, review the functionality to keep you as LIBOR members safe in this profession. So let me welcome Carl Carter first. Welcome, Carl.
Well, thank you, Marianne. I'm so honored to be with you and the rest of our LIBOR family. And thank you, before I begin and as I begin, just for LIBOR's commitment to agent safety. It's your leadership really is to be applauded. And so thank you for having me.
Thank you.
And today is a hard day. It is, of course, it is the last day of the month of Realtor Safety Month, but today also represents, a hard day for me personally. Yeah. On this day 6 years ago, after being missing for several days, my mom's body was found. And I want to just spend the next few minutes just talking about my mom's story, because I think that we honor her, and by learning from her story, and as hard as it is for me to tell and as emotional as I get, I believe that there's a lot of power in her story. I think there are a lot of teachable moments, and I hope that everyone that is with us today and anyone watching later, that you will not walk away from this presentation with a spirit of fear, but rather with hopefully inspired to really look at your personal safety strategy and make improvements so that we can say that there won't be another Beverly Carter, because we are taking a hard line and we are going to keep ourselves safe. Um, I have to say just quickly, as we begin, of course, we do have the Beverly Carter Foundation, and you guys have probably real estate safety's own rock star there with LIBOR, with Dave Lagaz. And he is my brother. I love him, and he contributes so much to agent safety. Really an amazing man. Just to tell you a little bit about my mom, and her, uh, who she was as a lady. And in addition to being my mom, she had been married to my dad for 34 years at the time that she was taken from us. She was only 50 years old, so we're not doing a lot for Arkansas stereotypes down here, but my parents were high school sweethearts, and of course, in addition to being a mom and a realtor, my mom's favorite role was being a grandma, and so she loved having my kids over. My parents lived on the lake, and so they would spoil my kids rotten just every weekend that they could. As we begin today, there is an uncomfortable truth, in all safety training, but also, and especially as it relates to my mom's story. My mom was targeted for reasons that really apply to every one of us on this session today. The bad guys themselves, when asked repeatedly, why Beverly? Like, why my mom? Why? Like, what was the process? It always came down to 2 points. And one is that my mom was a rich broker, and 2, she worked in a job that they knew that they could get her alone, so they could kidnap her. And so, they had this plan that they would kidnap this rich realtor and hold her for ransom. And they perceived my mom to be so wealthy that and these are their words, they thought they would get so much money that they would never have to work again. And so let me tell you just the very limited amount of information that they had on my mom. Her wealth that they perceived to be so grand, they really only pieced that together, as best we know, by publicly available information. Undoubtedly, they had seen my mom's marketing. Evidence was found on their laptop that they had done some Google searches on my mom. They had navigated to my mom's Facebook profile and gone through her pictures, which, I wouldn't think there's anything out there that expresses wealth, but, certainly there were family vacation photos, and that might have been, a telling sign to this couple. My mom was so well off. And then lastly, I think personally, it's one of the most eerie things, of course, isn't it? It's eerie to know that someone could be searching for you, right? I mean, you guys have probably heard Dave and others talk in safety sessions about the importance of, using these tools that we have, such as the internet, to research new clients to best as we can verify their identity, see if they're a little unhinged, see if you can assess, true intention. And but it's eerie to know that those same tools could be used against you. On their laptop, it was found that they had navigated and knew to navigate to county property records online, search for my mom's name, and to identify the property value of the home that my mom lived in. And so based on just these things alone that we know of, they had concluded that my mom had this vast amount of wealth. And I wanted, while it's not important to the story, it's kind of an irrelevant point to tell you about my parents' personal financial situation. But friend to friend, I will tell you, my parents were not wealthy. My mom did have at times great success in the industry, but what we're battling here, the important thing, and the reason why I tell you my parents' financial situation, is that it does not matter. when you're dealing with the perception of people, there doesn't have to be any reality to it at all. And we all know you probably have friends or different people that give you kind of a hard time with, little jabs on the side, that must be nice to be a realtor to make all that money and drive that fancy car and just set your own work hours. And, it's laughable, I know, but for many of us, but anyway, I kind of, that's just such an important point that regardless of how many times you've been to the closing table this year, there is a public perception that we are so wildly rich. And I hope that is the case for all of you. I hope you are Zooming with us today from your mansions in New York. But for many of us, that is not the case. This house is where my mom was taken from us. It was during a showing at this property. And if you didn't know, the context of this talk today and that the outcome of my mom's situation, this slide could just as easily be a part of any presentation related to anything with our industry. You've got an exterior photo, interior photo, you've got although awkward, and you've got this street address and a property description. And I did this designed it this way somewhat intentionally because the point that I wanted to first make related to this house is that, my mom had been in the industry a long time. Over, I guess, somewhere around a dozen years. She was at the broker level. She took her personal safety very seriously. She, a self-proclaimed, scaredy cat. She taught real estate classes, pre-licensure classes at a local real estate school. I mean, we're not talking about someone that, some of the reckless type behavior that we can sometimes see in our industry. But after a dozen years and the opportunity to help buyers and sellers in the hundreds of people, and through all those times, undoubtedly, she showed, thousands of houses. All it took was one couple, one house, and I lost my mom. And if I may, I'd like to talk you through some of the ways that they deceived my precious mom. So you can think about how you interact with new clients. If you will kind of go with me and imagine yourself in this scenario where you begin hearing from a husband and wife, and they are interested in purchasing a house and they want to buy. There is a sense of urgency because they have recently relocated to your area due to work, and they they're already in your area, they're renting, and they want to purchase something as soon as possible. You're talking to both husband and wife. The phone number that they're interacting with you, calling you on, texting you on, matches, the area code matches the state that they said they moved from. They give you their names and what they're looking for in property. And my mom did so many things right. She documented all this in her new client profile form that, just great from documentation and consistency. And as part of, that getting to know our new clients, as she got their name, she also got their email address, and their email address, the names in the email address matched that of the names that she had been given. And so she goes, like we all do, and she put their email address into the MLS, and so that they could be, notified of properties that met, their criteria. And alongside this, this urgency again is that they're actually cash buyers, and so they expect that once they find a property that this will be a pretty smooth, quick process. And like so many of us, and especially in times like now where we're struggling to, inventories are low everywhere. And so my mom was having a tough time finding properties that this couple was interested in and seeing. And so my mom began to do like we all do, and she was reaching out, talking to other agents about this couple, their needs, and asking if something would, if other agents knew of something that would be coming on the market soon. I always joke, that God love the people that love realtors, those that are married to us, a partner to us, because they have to hear, whether they want to or not, the ins and outs and ups and downs of every transaction that we work on. And there's a good safety message in that, even, kind of joking aside. But my dad knew of this couple and everything that I just told you. But the problem with all of that is, if we peel back those layers, every bit of what I just told you was based upon a lie, a series of lies. And the names were a lie. The phone number that they had used to interact with my mom was provided by an app that they had downloaded on their cell phone. So, and that gave them this spoof number that looked like, an out of state, it was an out of state number, to help further their story and protect their anonymity and help further their story, that they have come from out of state when they've always just been right across. And of course, we can all be reminded, it's not every day that we're creating email accounts, right? But be reminded, when you went back, when you created yours, especially through these free accounts like Yahoo or Google, there's no validation that you are who you say you are. You can use any name you want. And so they had done just that. My mom had no idea, obviously, what these people, what their true intentions were. That it was to get her alone and kidnap her and hold her for ransom. Had no idea that the husband was a 7-time felon. And yet, because she didn't know those things, she just continued down the path of trying so hard to find them a home and to serve them. I want to set a little bit of context related to this property, because, you hear so often when we talk about safety, this concept and this notion of situational awareness. And I think that, there are so many factors in situational awareness and things that can negatively affect it, where our guard kind of comes down and we feel safer than perhaps we are. So to that point, this particular house sits on the lake. My parents lived on that same lake. This is the community in which my parents lived. Very sweet community, very, large oak trees, very southern, very, very, and I hate to say these words, very safe again, very familiar. Just a few doors down from this property is where the pastor of my mom's church lived. And so, undoubtedly that could have caused maybe more, just because, this is just a drive past the road that this house was on every day to get home. Who knows if that contributed to more into her situation and to her awareness. Who knows? But we can be reminded of kind of these things. Now, more importantly, I think, about this particular property is that, as nice as it looks in this photo is outdated and a little misleading. This was the lead photo online at the time Mom was taken from us. There weren't very many other pictures, because the interior of this home, and truly even the exterior, was all in really bad shape. This house was foreclosed upon years and years ago and had sat vacant. There had been issues of squatters and people that had gotten in and vandalized it. And so it's just a mess. And so, because Mom, being, of course, in the business and being one of the leading realtors in her community, living in that community, she knew the status of this house. And this was not on, as I've been told, this was not, a property that she would have ever recommended for this couple. So then imagine then that, perhaps to her surprise, whenever my mom gets a call from the husband. And so we know how this conversation went, strictly from that bad guy. He talked about this conversation during the interrogation process. And he said whenever he called my mom to ask to see this house, that she expressed hesitancy, and she even cited a company policy that prohibited her from showing property alone in a rural area. And so, just to pause that, who knows what was going on in that scenario? We can speculate that either she didn't want to show the property because she knew it would be a waste of time because it was such a fixer-upper. This is not going to work for a couple with the urgency to get into a property like they expressed. It could be that because of the status, this yuck of the house, she knew that it was going to be a waste of her time, or maybe more than anything, and we can only speculate, but maybe that instinct was going on. So what she had done is she made up a company policy. And so I think that's a great strategy, right? We can learn from mom with that. But where we can take it even further, what we can learn from mom is that then what do you do like they did to her when the husband hands the phone to the wife and the wife says, hey, I'm going to be there as well. Would your company be okay if it's the three of us? I'll be, coming separately from work, but we can all meet there at the same time. Is that acceptable? And so, speaking to, back to the point of mom's story resonating, when we're all able to be in a room and I share this story, this is really where you see a physical reaction from agents. Because so many agents, self included, I'll tell myself here, just based on our history, our life experiences, our personal bias, that, for maybe a host of reasons, so many of us do not associate women with violent crime or situations that have, risk for victimization. And so, many people say when he handed the phone to the wife and the wife said those words, so many agents have told me they would have gotten me the exact same way because I would have made the exact same mistake. The problem, though, is that up till now, mom she said, of course, that'll be fine, and set the appointment. But up until now, this showing would be the first time to see this couple face to face. So there's been no pre-showing new buyer consultation in a public place like the office or a coffee shop. There has been no exchange of identification, and there has been no proof of funds provided. So truly, in so many ways, it's just been based upon their word and conversations that have been had over phone and text emails. My mom told them that, of course, as we all see now, it's this time of year, that mom told them, the days are getting shorter and there are no utilities at this property. So we will need to tour, this home in the daylight. So we need to get there no later than 6 o'clock. And that day came, Thursday, September 25th. And mom had a busy day in the office, had an affiliate luncheon, won $50. She called in a raffle. And so she called my dad that afternoon to let him know. And this is, safety tip from mom. She was sharing her itinerary with my dad. And she told him that at 6 o'clock she would be showing this property, which, because it was in their community, dad knew exactly where. And then she would take that $50 she won in that raffle that night and pick them up some dinner on the way home. And then she would see him later. And I just can't emphasize enough that it was just a Thursday, like in real estate, like so many that have come before. But when my mom arrived at this property, she got there early, good safety in that, assessed the situation. We know that prior to the buyer getting there, she had already opened the property. We know that at 6 o'clock, a black car pulls in by my mom and a young Caucasian male with short dark hair approaches. And we don't know if it happened with his request first in person or uh, around that same time, mom begins getting texts from the wife. And the wife is letting my mom know that she's caught up at work, would not be able to make the showing. She's so sorry, but she had a request of mom, and that was that my mom would proceed with the showing. And because this property was so poorly represented online with very few, dimly lit, photos, if mom would be so kind to tour this property with her husband and take photographs and answer any questions as they toured the property. And the husband, of course, in person, offered the same apology and asked my mom if she would proceed with that. And it's at this point of the story that I always say, it's like on my mom's behalf, I have that burning in my stomach, and I wish so badly, that I could. This is the last opportunity for a decision that could save her. And undoubtedly, my mom probably had, her instincts were probably going off like crazy. But as we can all relate, how often do we kind of think ourselves out of that instinct? We don't want to seem rude or unprofessional or weak. We need to get paid, whatever, who knows? And so my precious mom agreed to show this property. And at the end of the trial, we got back her cell phone, and it had been found in these awful people's home. And the last 10 photos were of the interior of this house, where my mom was taking the photos and texting them to the wife and answering her questions. This photograph that you see on the screen here, the bottom right, that's actually was the last photo on my mom's camera roll. Represents the last moment of my mom's freedom. Represents the moment just before my mom was caught by surprise with a taser in her side and a really awful man that told her that she was about to have a very bad day. That bad guy went outside and got in his car after tasing my mom and taping her with duct tape, got in his car, turned it around, backed it up to this house, and opened the trunk. And, all those details that I just told you about, this 6 o'clock, black car, young Caucasian male, short dark hair, goes in the home with my mom. Moments later, comes out, gets in his car, and turns it around, opens the trunk. I'll tell you all those details because there's a really teachable moment in this. All those details were witnessed firsthand by the next door neighbor, but they weren't reported to law enforcement until much later that evening when detectives were door knocking and asking neighbors if they had seen anything. And so the message there is the importance of reporting suspicious activity in the moment to the authorities. He put my precious mom in the trunk of that car and drove away. And, before closing the lid on the trunk of that car, he sent a picture of my mom in the trunk. He took a picture of her with his cell phone and texted to his wife. And we can only assume that he was doing that to let his wife know that their master plan of kidnapping this rich realtor was in play. And an important thing to note, though, and related to another safety tip from my mom, is that she personally never showed property with a purse on her shoulder. She always left it locked in her car. And so in his haste to do all those awful things to my mom and drive away, he actually forgot the purse. And the purse was going to be how they accessed her money. The plan was to have all this wealth, have my dad push all this wealth, perceived wealth, to accounts that were accessible via cards in my mom's purse. And so from the time he drove off that day with mom, his plan was already ruined, and he didn't know it. It wasn't until much later that night that whenever we were all out there on the scene, because we knew where to go when mom was missing, that he realized that he didn't have the purse, so he came back to get it. And, and that was, we began that night, and we didn't know that the two were related. So you could see the timestamp here. Dad begins getting texts from my mom 6 hours and 21 minutes after the appointment. We had no idea that whenever he came back out there to get the person, he sees our family and he sees other agents and he sees all these detectives on the scene, that that the that he would it was you know he would deny knowing anything when questioned about mom and her disappearance, and he would go down the street and he would turn her phone on and he would send this text to my dad. Of course, what he thought he was doing with these texts was throwing everyone off, but that last text, and I know none of you knew my mom, but was so out of character for my mom that what he actually did was confirm that my mom had been kidnapped and that whoever had her was so bold to even pretend to be her. This timeline is really what an eternity looks like. When your mom's missing, when you're dealing with a missing person. Um, Darkest days of my life, but I have to say just quickly, and I know my time's coming to a close, but this timeline also represents the so much good that exists within our industry. It was real estate agents that searched these fields looking for evidence of my mom. It was real estate agents that kept the pressure on local investigators and detectives to keep the heat and on finding her, and then finding her bad guy, the bad guys that took her. And then later it was the real estate community that I think really kept a lot of pressure on the insistence of justice. And of course, I say this lastly, but probably most importantly, it was real estate that, this has been 6 years, and it has been 6 years of nonstop love and support from the realtor family, from my family, and that fuels our love back and our gratitude and everything that we do in Mom's name with this nonprofit. Probably won't come as no surprise that news broke on Facebook that my mom's body had been found on September 30th, and it was agents in the very, very early morning hours that first saw it and raced to my house to tell me in person so that I didn't have to find out on Facebook that mom had been found. This was from mom's 50th birthday party, and there was a ransom recording of mom, and where they were going to record her telling my dad what to do with the money, and they were going to text it to him, that spoof number. And we know that in that recording that was then never actually delivered to my dad, her last words that she spoke to him, this is just moments after being kidnapped, that the last words to my dad was, "I just want you to know I love you very much." We also know from evidence obtained from the trunk of that car that she got her hands free. And lastly, and maybe most importantly, and I'm so inspired by these bits of my mom and how she reacted in this awful situation. We know that whenever the bad guy left her at their home, being guarded by the wife with a firearm while he came to get the purge, that my mom prayed. And so even at the very end of my mom's life, and the worst of circumstance, she was still full of love, as you see here. She was still full of fight in the trunk of that car, we know. And then, of course, she held steadfast to her faith right until the very end. This is where my precious mom was found. That night, whenever that bad guy fled the scene, it was like seeing those cop cars and the blue lights and being questioned was a moment of clarity that their plan was not a good one and it would not work. And he and his wife began this full meltdown, and they made the very bold decision to jump from kidnapping and ransom to kidnapping and murder. And they brought my precious mom to this spot, and they ended her life and buried her in a shallow grave. Through incredible detective work, consisting of a team of 26 people, after all those days, on September 30th, my mom was found in this spot. The bad guys, just for the sake of time, just to tell you, they are in prison, and thankfully can not cause physical pain to anyone else. I think you guys, I've hit on them pretty good. These are the takeaways from Mom's story, and we are always happy to share these slides and share these takeaways with you. Um, we have the Beverly Carter Foundation website that is pledge and other great one-page resources that you can grab to help keep the conversation going available on our website. We also, of course, we're on social media, and I know everyone is, but I would love for you to engage with us, follow us. Just, we won't spam you, I promise. We like to just throw out little tips here and there to help people keep safety at the forefront. Um, and to the point about the great Dave Lagasse, he serves on our board of directors, and incredible man. And I hope that you will consider us and our mission, our nonprofit, with giving as well. Last slide I'm going to leave you with, it's just this picture of my kiddos and my email address there. This photo was taken the week before Mom was taken from us. We were out on a run, and we approached they called her Mama, so we stopped by one of Mama's listings, and they posed for this picture, and we put it on her Facebook wall, and she loved it, of course. But if I may just leave you with a thought, and make this last thought, and make this photo, somewhat symbolic. And that is, if my mom's for sale sign can be representative of you and your commitment to your career and excellence in real estate, I hope my mom's story, and I hope my simple words today have made you a little bit more mindful of the people that live on the periphery of your career, your friends and your loved ones, your colleagues that so desperately need you to come home safely every day. I cannot thank you enough for this opportunity. And please, again, if I ever may be a resource for you, don't hesitate to reach out. Take care, and God bless everyone.
Carl, thank you so very much for being with us today. I wish I had the right words. You've done an amazing job in keeping Beverly's memory alive and doing good out of a horrific situation. We thank you for being with us on this special day, and you are in our thoughts, prayers, and have a peaceful day. And thank you again from LIBOR and its leadership.
Thank you. Thank you.
I hope everyone, please stay with us. We have Ray Beckett, who is with Real Safe Agent, which is a free member benefit. It's a realtor safety app to keep you safe, help to keep you safe out in the field, and to cooperate and collaborate with others to ensure your safety. So thank you, Ray, for being with us, and we'll turn it over to you at this time.
Thank you very much, Marianne. And thank you very much, Carl, for sharing your mom's story with all of us today, especially on the day that it actually is. You mentioned Dave Lagasse, and I do presentations with Dave whenever he talks to the LIBOR representatives or to different offices. And obviously he does mention your mom's story. And it's a tragic story, and it's one that everyone who's listening here should definitely take to heart. It's hard to follow a speaker like Carl, but if my part of the presentation can just stop one agent from being attacked, I would consider that worthwhile. Marianne said Real Safe Agent. It's not just a safety app, it's actually a crime prevention system. The goal of Real Safe Agent is to actually stop a crime from ever occurring. And I'm going to go through some of the different features of the app, but a couple of things to just keep in mind, and Marianne did mention it before. This is a free LIBOR member benefit. It is 100% free to every person who is listening to my voice now. You'll see toward the end on how to download the app. It's simple. It's on the Google Store and the Apple Store. Please download this app when this is over. If there's any issues, you'll have my information, and there's ways through the internet to get some help with that. Crime against real estate agents is predatory crime. This is premeditated predatory crime. These are predators out there who will research agents and then finally choose which agent to make their victims. So there are things that can be done by yourselves and through the app to try to help make that not happen. And what I kind of want to do is I want to just step you through the different features of the app so you can see how it can be used, how it can keep you safe. And a lot of what we do with the app and a lot of what I tell you is to try to raise red flags, to look for different red flags that might make you then say, hey, I need to bring someone with me. And Carl had mentioned Dave Lagaz. Dave did a great presentation last week on agent safety, so I'm not going to get deeply into agent safety as a topic as opposed to the app, but just understand that 5 to 6% of real estate agents are victims of violent crimes. 80% of those crimes go unreported. And for those men out there, 30% of violent crime against real estate agents is against men. So it's not just women. Men are being attacked as well. When we designed Real Safe Agent, its most recent iteration, what we tried to do is we tried to make it intuitive for the agents. We tried to make it so that even if you hadn't watched a video on how it works, you could actually use it. And we put just some simple things across the top. You can see prospects, appointments, help, points, and settings. So if you have a new prospect, you can enter them there. Appointments, settings, we'll get into a little later. And then what we did is with the features, we listed each feature separately, and we put a question with it. A question that a real estate agent might just naturally have. The first question you see says, I have a new prospect that I don't know. Someone called you, you don't even know who they are. Or the third one down, I have an appointment and I don't want to go alone. Again, these are things that are in a real estate agent's head, questions that you may ask yourself. So I'm going to go step by step now and show you the different features. And the first one you could see is whose phone and prospect link. Whose phone is just a cute way that my boss came up with. Whose phone is it? You get a phone call from someone. Who is it? So whenever you click on one of the tabs, you're going to get some instructions here. And the top will just be a general safety blurb. Then there'll be steps on what you need to do within that tab. Then there'll be some more information on that tab. And on the bottom, you see the blue, it says, for more information, click here to watch video. I don't expect you to absorb everything I'm going to say today and become an expert at it. So while using the app, if you're in the app and you're not sure what to do and how this will help you, you just click on the video. Also at realsafeagent.com, we have tons of safety videos, tons of information for you there. So then you just click OK, and it will bring you to this screen. And this screen does whose phone and the prospect link, which we'll talk about in a moment. And basically what you're doing is you're just putting that phone number in there for the prospect. And if you want whose phone, you just turn the little thing where it says off to on, and the same thing with the prospect link, and you hit submit. And what you're going to get is the following screen, and this is my phone number. It's going to tell you whether it's a mobile phone, whether it's personal or business. Mine says personal because it used to be before it became my business phone. The owner's name and where the phone is registered. Now, if it's a spoof number, there's not much we could do about that, but there are some things that you can find out. If someone said, hey, I'm a CEO, I want to buy $1 million house on Long Island, and I'm going to pay cash for it. Well, when you see the phone type, the person might not want to use their regular phone. They might go get a prepaid phone, so you really can't track it. Well, that would pop up. It would pop up as prepaid phone, and that would be a red flag, because why would the CEO who wants to spend $1 million on Long Island be using a prepaid phone? Also might be where the phone is registered. You might be able to find out some information from that. So again, we're just looking for red flags so you would potentially bring someone with you on an appointment. To go back to the prospect link, essentially all a prospect link is, someone calls you up, they say, hey, I want to see a house. You have their phone number, you have their information. You put their phone number in and turn prospect link on and hit submit. And what's going to happen for that is they're going to get a text. And you basically just tell them, you're going to get a simple text from me. It's not going to say anything about safety. All I want you to do is, I just want you to put in your phone number, snap a selfie, and send it back to me. Some people will send selfies and some won't. But you can just tell the prospect that you're asking for this selfie. So when you meet them either at the office, at a neutral location, or at the home, that you know it's them. Most people are going to send that selfie to you. And when they do, when you send that out, what's going to happen is you're going to get what's called the Agent Comfort Index. So you can see in the upper right, the Agent Comfort Index for this person is 1. It's a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being the worst and 5 being the best. And essentially what it is just what it says. How comfortable did an agent feel when they were with this prospect? So we ask you when you're done with an appointment to go on and rate that prospect, how you felt. You're not rating the person, and we don't keep the information of who rated each prospect. We just keep the rating. This way there's no fair housing or anything with that. And what this is used for is if you're an agent and you have a prospect and you send them the prospect link and you see their Agent Comfort Index is 1 or 2 or whatever you deem to be low, well, you're going to want to bring someone with you because other agents have felt uncomfortable with this person. If you see a 5, well, maybe you'll feel comfortable. You see it says incomplete. That means the person actually did not respond to your prospect link. They did not send back the information you asked for. Again, this could potentially be a red flag. You'll also get incomplete for anyone that you just do a whose phone lookup for, and you'll get this information. More potential red flags. Under that, it says prospect link sent by one agent in past 14 days by one agent total. Well, it's not uncommon for a person who's just starting out looking for a home to contact 2, 3, maybe 4 agents. But the way predators work is they will research their prey and they'll victim shop. So they might look at 6, 8, or 10 different agents. And for predators, it's a whole vicious cycle. It's a cycle of, it's almost like a drug addict. They need this high. And then once they get the high, they feel guilty about everything and they need a bigger high. So they keep stepping through things. And it's not until they feel it's exactly the right time to strike that they do. So they might go through 6, 8, 10 agents. So if you're coming on and a person calls up and says, I want to see a home, and you notice in the Agent Comfort Index that they've seen 12 agents in the past 14 days or 8 agents and 12 agents total, that's a red flag. That seems just a little bit off. So again, with the Agent Comfort Index, have other agents been uncomfortable with this person? The screens that you see now is you have complete and incomplete. And you have my lovely wife who was nice enough to respond and snap a selfie. You have myself without the picture, and then a friend of ours. And that just shows you those are the complete people. The incomplete are going to be people who either just did a whose phone or someone who did not respond to your prospect link. Now you'll notice on the right-hand side, there's something that says, I felt in blue. That's what you're going to go into after you see somebody. After you see a prospect, you're going to go in there and rate them. You're going to rate how you felt so that you can give information to other agents. The goal of Real Safe Agent is for agents to collaborate and cooperate. That's important. We understand that Century 21 versus Douglas Elliman versus any other real estate brokerage, you're technically all competitors. But when it comes to safety, you're all a family. You're all real estate agents. If someone went out on a call and they were with someone that made them feel extremely uncomfortable, wouldn't you want to know that before you actually went out with that person? So please, when you're done with an appointment, go and do that Agent Comfort Index so you can give information to the next agent. The third thing down is an accompany me request. For accompany me, again, is I have an appointment and I don't want to go alone. Maybe it's from these red flags that you saw through Real Safe Agent. Maybe it's just when you talk to the person, things seemed off, things seemed wrong. Real estate agents, especially people that have been in the business for a while, you get a sixth sense. Use that sixth sense. If you don't feel comfortable, take somebody with you. That's the goal of this. Take somebody with you. You don't need to take someone on every appointment, but if you just feel off, take a person with you. So if you click on Accompany Me, if you have nothing set up you have no appointment set up, you're going to get to a screen like the one on the left where you're going to input all the information that you see there. The location, when the appointment is, the duration that you think it's going to be. And at the bottom, you see it says find an agent to accompany. You just click on that and it will send out an alert. It will send out a notification to the 20 agents that are closest to that property. And it will give them the opportunity to respond, yes or no, they would like to accompany you. Once someone says yes, they will accompany you, the other 19 agents will get a notification saying that the notification has been already answered, the accompany me request has been answered, and you will also get a notification. The agent that agreed to come and help you will get your information so that they can call you, and you will in turn get their information so that you can call them if you desire. Now, when I do these in person, I can get a much better read on the people, and usually I see people start to squirm in their seats a little bit or kind of hem and haw, because people might not want to give out that information. They might not want to have somebody from another agency come because they're afraid about splitting commissions and things like that. So if you'll notice toward the bottom, there's a little thing that says only send to agents from my brokerage. That gives you the opportunity to just restrict it to your brokerage. Again, though, if you do restrict it, you're restricting the amount of people that could potentially come and help you. So again, if you feel wrong, if you feel off, if there are red flags, bring someone with you. Use the accompany me request to get another agent to come with you. On the right, if you have an appointment already set up in there, you would just click that appointment, and that's information would feed into the system and populate the fields. If it's a brand new appointment, you could click on the plus sign and then enter in the information. The next part of this is a drop-in alert. And if you'll notice underneath, it says, I'm going on an appointment alone. What if I become uncomfortable? Again, all the perfect planning in the world. You could have met the person, at your office. You could have met them off site. You could have gotten all their information. Everything could feel perfect. They said everything perfectly, and it was great. And you thought this was going to be a great appointment. But you don't know what can happen when you get to that appointment. That's why we created the drop-in alerts. If you're already there and you don't feel comfortable, what do you do? Well, when you click on drop-in alert, it's going to give you the ability to set a range, and you can see this is 2.25 miles. There are 20 agents that have Real Safe Agent active right at that moment when I took that screenshot from where I was at that point. So that's just setting up a range for a number of agents that will be sent out an alert if necessary. And you could select an appointment or not, it doesn't really matter. And when you go into this, what it's going to do, it's going to put you in something called showing mode. And this is something that you should do before you leave your car. You get to the appointment, you pull up, put the phone into showing mode, start the app, put it into showing mode, because this is what you need to protect you when you're on this appointment. If you'll notice, it looks like a normal phone screen. You have Google Maps up there, and you have Chrome, you have a bunch of other things. No one looking at this screen would ever know that you had a safety app now running in the background in case you needed it. If you'll notice on the left-hand side, the app in the black background, that's Real Safe Agent. That's our symbol. And you'll see there's a little green thing in the upper right-hand corner. That's to let you know that you are on showing mode. And you just do your appointment as normal. You have the phone in your hand. But if you decide that you start to feel uncomfortable, and we tell people, do this before you get scared. When you start to get uncomfortable, you're going to want to do this. You're going to want to send out this alert. And it's also, what you want to do is, we say also with taking people with you, you should definitely take people with you with red flags, but you should also take people with you if there's no cell service in an area, because that becomes a problem. If there's no cell service in an area and you try to request help, you can't do it. You should also, if it's a vacant home or in rural areas, these are things that are red flags that should have you take someone with you. So you're in showing mode, you're in the house, you're showing the house or apartment to somebody, you feel unsafe. What do? All you have to do is you hold down the screen, push down on the screen for 3 seconds. Just hold that screen down for 3 seconds. And that's going to send an alert out to those agents that you saw on the screen before that were in that radius. And it's going to send that out to any buddies that you programmed in. In that settings thing that I discussed earlier, that's where you put your buddies in. So it could be a spouse, it could be a child, it could be another agent, it could be a neighbor. Anyone that you want to put in there, they will get notification that, hey, you're requesting someone to come help you. You're requesting someone to come meet you at the appointment. The reason why we do it this way is you might have a creepy person who's not dangerous. They're just a creepy person, but they have money and they want to buy a house. You're in the business of selling homes. You don't want to scare off every person that just makes you feel uneasy, because the vast majority of buyers are legitimate buyers. So what this does is, rather than calling the police who then come in and you definitely lost the sale, this just has someone walk in and go, oh, I'm sorry, I must be a little early for our appointment. I'll just wait here. Now, if that's a predator, you've just broken the cycle and you've made it harder for them to attack, because there are now 2 people in that house. The other thing is that you're going to put this notification out to people. You don't want to get them in any trouble. You don't want to have their safety compromised. So what's going to happen is the microphone on your phone, when you send out that drop-in alert, your microphone stays open. So that person, that agent who's coming to help you, they'll get GPS coordinates and a map on how to get there, and they'll be able to listen in on the conversation. So that if the conversation is just about the wood flooring and the beautiful cabinets, it's great. They come in and everything is good. But if that conversation starts to turn dark, they know, do not enter that home, because their safety will then be in danger, and they should immediately stop and call the police. So you have potential safety there, but you don't lose a sale. There is a 911 alert. That's the next one down. If you just shake the phone, I'm not sure if you can see this, but shake the phone up and down 4 times violently, it will call out to the police. We use that shaking up and down because if you're trying to fend off an attacker, that's the motion you use. Or if you're running away from an attacker, that's the motion your arms will make. So that 911 alert is in there in case you just need to call the police. The last thing, using RSA for open houses, just basically steps you through a lot of the same stuff that I just spoke to you about. Again, on the upper right, the settings, that's where you're going to put your buddies in. That's where you can test out some of the features of the app. That's where you can test out the 911 or the 911 alerts and make sure you're doing it properly without actually calling the police. And the last slide I have, it's a 1.5-minute video. I'm asking that you please watch this. This is going to show you how unbelievably simple it is to activate Real Safe Agent. It's very, very quick. It's very simple. And I'm hoping that everyone who is here listening to this presentation today, when this is over, they go and they download the app.
To install and activate Real Safe Agent, you will first download the Real Safe Agent app. When you open the app, you will select the Register option. This will take you to the next screen, where you will select your association or MLS from the list provided. If you cannot find your association or MLS, hit the Cannot Find button on the bottom of the screen, and you will be automatically directed to our support site. Once you select your association or MLS, you will be sent to a page where you will put in the email address that your association has on file for you and hit Submit. A text message will be sent to the phone number that the association has on file for you, and you will enter this code on the following page. If you do not receive a text, you can hit the Send Code by Email button, and a code will be sent via email. Once the code is entered, hit the Submit button on the bottom of the screen. This will take you to a series of agreement pages to review. Once those have been agreed to, you will go to the next page, where you will create a password and PIN. Just a note, your username will be your email address. Your password needs to be at least 4 characters long and can be anything you want. There are no special requirements. Your PIN is any 4-digit number you choose. You will enter your password twice, and then your PIN twice, and hit Submit. That's it. You will now be directed to the Real Safe Agent home screen and can begin using the system.
So as I said, it's very, very simple to do. It's a free LIBOR member benefit. It's free to you. You guys pay dues to LIBOR. use the free stuff that they have for you so that you can get this app and use all the parts of it to look for red flags, to just call for help if you need it. RealSafeAgent.com, there's tons of stuff on there. There's all kinds of videos about how to approach different things, how to approach an open house, how to unlock a lockbox, how to deal with any number of things. LIBOR site, lirealtor.com/safety, NAR site, realtor.org/safety. These all have great resources for you. When you go to download the app, LIBOR or Long Island Board of Realtors is obviously going to be your association. We don't always have phone numbers for agents on Long Island, so you might have to just do the email rather than the text, get the text with the 3-digit code, but that's simple. If you have any questions, I went a little quick today because I wanted to make sure I stayed within my time and opened it up for questions at the end. So I know I threw a lot at you. My name, ray@realsafeagent.com, is my email. 516-640-7910, a little cut off there at the bottom, is my phone. Feel free to call me, email me. I'm more than happy to give safety presentations at offices, either in person or on Zoom. I'll give Real Safe Agent tutorials. Again, if you need anything, please, please, please reach out to us. We're trying to keep you guys safe. So, Marianne, if there are any questions now, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you, Ray. The only question we had was from one member that said, you know, that time may not allow for a lengthy process, and you know, what could be the immediate action that they could take using the app. And I think you did cover that with the shaking of the phone and you know, those features. So if they didn't have time to alert the through the buddy system, they could just shake the phone and that would call.
And that will call 911. And the thing is, it's also, you have to look there. You might feel comfortable, and then you see somebody when they drive up to the house to meet you, things just look off. Things look kind of weird. Something just looks suspect. You can issue a drop-in alert even before you enter the house. And then what you just do is, won't work as well on an apartment, but it works in a home. What you could just do then is you say, hey, let's take a look at the outside of the house first. And you show them around the outside of the house until the agent that's coming to help you, that's coming to respond to that drop-in alert, actually shows up. So there are things you can do even if you feel unsafe before the process even starts.
Thank you. You know, that seems to be it. You know, that was our only question. I think it was pretty thorough. The video was very helpful. And again, this is recorded. It's on LIBOR's website, which is lirealtor.com/COVID. And this webinar will be there as well as others that we've had on Wednesdays, and helpful information. This particular you know, aspect or benefit as a LIBOR member is under lirealtor.com/safety. And most appropriately, this session was called Your Safety is Non-Negotiable, and that's absolutely true. So we thank you, Ray.
Thank you for having me.
For being with us. Please reach out to him if you want to know more. Go to our website, lirealtor.com/safety, to learn more about this. So everyone be well, be safe, and thank you again, Ray.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.